Good afternoon.
Good
All right.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome to DBT Bootcamp. Please invite your friends, invite those that we know register for this program. We're about to start. We don't want to waste your time. We promise to keep to time. Invite your friends. Let's get started. All right. Welcome to YDP DBT Bootcamp, and I'm David Hadejimo. And I may have other people that will be joining us. These events usually we normally have like a YDP quarterly meetup, right? But this time around for this quarter, we decided to go um have like a boot camp for people. I know at some point you roll out a Google form, just to understand if people actually know what DBT is all about, right? And so today we are going to be kickstarting and we have Adebite Ayodeji. But shortly before it comes up, I know, can you hear me, please? Just do a thumbs up if you can hear me. Great. All right. So I know at some points there was a time we sent out the form, Googling form for us to fill. And one of our observation is that at least we know that a lot of people still need to learn how DBT is being used. Right, and that's one of the things that actually for this particular boot camp, right? And also, there was a link that was sent to us as regards the Git repo. I hope we all have access to it. If you have access to the Git repo, I'm able to clone it. Just drop a chat in the chat box. Let's confirm that. Let's confirm that. Let's confirm that. Just drop a yes, yes, yes. I'm expecting like 10 years at the various minimum before we continue. 10. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. Great, great, great. All right. So basically, we have instructions. One of the things I'll be doing there, and I know Ayodeji is going to kickstart that with us just today. I know some of us may not know who Ayodeji Adegbite is. So currently he's the founder of Behind the Data, where he normally talks about the issues around data. I know if you're a data professionals, you know that there are different issues that different organizations are currently facing today. So Ayodeji is the founder of Behind the Scenes, a newsletter that is usually sent out. I think it does like every week, right? And currently he's a senior data engineer at Brecht LSC, right? He has over 5 years of experience. He has worked with EdTech, FinTech, and couple of other experiences. And with a clapping innovation, before I go to call Ayodeji, let's drop a love emoji in the chat first. Let's bring him up. Let's bring him up before he's going to take up the mic from me. Ayodeji, the next voice you're going to hear from me is going to be Ayodeji's voice. Welcome, everyone. Please, also, we are going to be having attendance, right? Please, no matter what you are trying to be in this class, because we have like 2 sessions of attendance. One is going to come up at the start of the class, and the other one is going to come at the end of the class. For you to be fully qualified for this particular program, right, you must attend at least all the 4 classes, right? So we have this week, next week, upper week, and it's going to be wrapping up on 29th of November, right? Please do not miss the class. There's going to be case studies, there's going to be assignments. Do not miss any of these, right? We are going to have assignments for you, different case studies, and we promise that this is going to be fully hands-on session, right? This is going to be fully hands-on session. I know there's a couple of gifts that we have, and that might be unpacked later on. Don't let me go into details with that, but please ensure that you commit your time into this, do all the assignments that we have for you, ensure that you do everything, right, just to get the best out of this, right? We have busy, some of these guys are busy, and for them to actually even come on this program, let us ensure that we make their time worth it. Thank you, and Ayodeji, over to you.
Mic check, mic check. Can you guys hear me?
Sure, we can hear you.
Okay. So my name is not Ayodeji. Don't mind Dave, right? My name is Ayade. So I don't know where he's seeing Ayedeji. So I can see my Ogas here. It's nice to share my little knowledge with you, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. So please confirm if you can see my screen. Uh, okay, yes, I need to, oh, sorry. I wanted to put on my camera, but my phone is not connecting. So, but you can all see my face in my bio called my DP. All right, please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah, thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Thank you. So just so that we can all enjoy the session, right? If you have questions, just use the hand gesture signal to sort of raise your hand, and or maybe just drop your question in the group chat. There are tons of people that are looking at for that. So today, basically, just like Dave mentioned, a GitHub repo was shared with you, and it outlines the things that we'll be covering for the 4 days. So for today, we'll be starting with the DBT fundamentals, right? So what are the things that you should know even before jumping on the tool called DBT? I know we have read about it. That's why we enrolled for this session and all of that, right? So now, just to put this out there, it's DBT, like all in lower caps, not capital DBT, right? Capital DBT is like a technical term in healthcare industry. So if you search with capital letter, you'll be seeing like a lot of different things, right? So for today, we just want to talk about what is DBT, why does it matter, and analytical engineering flow, and basically the bootcamp structure, which Dave has just talked about now. So I'm going to just stop sharing this and go to the repo so that we can look through what we have, right? So what is DBT and why do we use DBT? So in short, DBT is data build tool and is used for transforming your data in a data warehouse, right, with SQL. And it also enables, Dave, please, can you like mute everybody so that there isn't interference? Yeah, thank you. So DBT is known for transforming your data with SQL. So it's like your pandas, right? But pandas is known for Python. Spark is known for Python, but DBT is known for SQL, right? And it's also enable version control. So it basically turns your SQL queries into production grade syntaxes, right? It enables you to be able to check which query is relying on which query, which table is connected to which table, and all of that. So unlike the traditional extraction, load, and transform that we have before, DBT focuses on the transformation part now because of the change in how data are being structured. So instead of doing your extraction, load, and transform, we are now doing extraction, load. Sorry, yes, extraction, load, and transform. Yeah, not ETL, not extraction, transform, and load. Yeah. So DBT now focuses on the last part of the ELT, extract, and then you load directly to your warehouse. So then DBT now comes in to do your transformation. Unlike before, where you extract your data and then you use whether your Spark or your Pandas to do transformation, and then the clean data is loaded into your final destination. So DBT sort of acts as one of the tools that brought about analytics engineering, right? Because it sort of separates that role from what a data engineer used to do before. So analytics engineer basically use DBT to apply software principles to data. So when we talk about software principles, what are the things that we are looking at? We are looking at testing, CI/CD, version controlling, and a couple of others. So DBT enables us to apply all of these principles to our analytics workflow. So for this bootcamp, we will start from the raw to the end, and every instructor will be building on that. So for our data sets, we are using the Brazilian e-commerce data set, right? And for some of us that might have set this up, you have like full flow for today. So what do we know about the analytics engineering workflow is that it starts from raw data to staging, to intermediate, then to maths, which is now building specialized data sets for specific business units, and then to business intelligence, which is where the data analyst, business intelligence analyst and whatnot are now feeding on that data that you have built. And this is where DBT sort of shine, right? So for the repo, right, we have like the data sets that we are using there. I think it's in the seed folder, right? And each data is a CSV file. So normally you will not use DBT seed to load this into your warehouse. The data will have been ingested normally, but there is a command in DBT that can help you to load all of this data into your warehouse. Like it takes that ingestion process. So you don't need to go and use Airbyte or use Talent or use DLT to load the data. With DBT seed, it can load all of the CSV file directly into your warehouse that you have set up while you are doing your DBT configuration, right? So for us, we have it in our DBT dev environments, right? So these are all the tables basically, right? So if we read from each of these tables, we can see that the informations are already loaded, right? The informations are already loaded, and with DBT seed, we got all of this in, right? But when you are doing yours, this particular data set might take a while. Others, I think this is the biggest of them. It might take a while, right? But if you are using Postgres as your data warehouse, or you are using BigQuery, or you are using Snowflake, instead of using DBT seed, you can just manually upload these files directly into your tables, right? That was what I did to load for all of the tables in the Snowflake warehouse. So you can do the same for Postgres, you can do the same for BigQuery, you can do the same for Redshift if those are the ones that you're opting for. Or if you have the patience, you can just do DBT seed and it will load all of them. But when DBT seed is loading this, it's not going to create the names like this. It's going to use these names as you have it here. So if you use DBT seed, this will be stored as olist underscore customers.csv as a table in the schema that you have specified. Excuse me, please. Okay, sorry about that. So if you use DBT seed, it's going to use the name that you have used to store the file. Who is that? OB Koya, yeah, please shoot.
Yeah, thank you, Ade. So about uploading the data into our data platform. So do we do it now? I mean, because if it will be hands-on, I mean, our data set is already supposed to be on the data platform. So for me, I have BigQuery. I'm using BigQuery, but I've not, uploaded it just yet.
Okay, so what we can do is, while I'm talking about these whole theoretical parts, you can start loading it into your, but you should have set up your DBT environment and all of that. That would say, oh, this is the database I'm talking to. Yeah, so just load them directly into your BigQuery environment. So you can be manually uploading them as I'm going through all of this until like maybe 1:30 yet. Okay, yeah.
All right, thank you.
You. Yeah. So that's DBT seed. And if you look through each one of these data sets, each one talks about a different entity entirely, right? There is an ERD diagram for these data sets. I think it's available on this OList e-commerce data set. I think that's coming from Cargo. Yeah, this should be it. So this shows basically how the tables are connected and all of that. Yeah, so this is the ERD for that particular data set, right? And one of the things that you need to understand as even a data analyst or as an analytics engineer in training or the one that is already working is how your tables are connected, right? What key in a particular table is joining to a particular table, right? So that way you're able to build models that are scalable, right? And that will not become too heavy to load when it's actually supposed to be in use. A typical example would be, so Bridge LLC, not Bridge like Dave mentioned. Bridge LLC is a consulting firm, right? So which means I work with different clients. One of the first clients I worked with when I joined Bridge has this store procedure that has about thousands of columns, right? And it has grown so much that the store procedure was no longer working. Like to load, it will take like almost a day to even load the data. So what they need the information for, they are not able to do it. So the first thing was to convert that store procedure into a DBT project. And we now start looking into which column is which column are this, which table are these columns coming from, where are these ones coming from. So we now have to sit down and start asking different stakeholders, are you using this? Are you using this? At the end of the day, the whole 1,000 plus columns, we had to cut it down to like maybe 20 because there are not even up to 20 columns in out of that 1,000. But people just feel like when there is anything that they need, they just add the column to the store procedure and just keep growing. And this is a thing of how their data is connected. Some joins in that store procedure are barbaric. Like just for me to try to get this column into this thing, I can go through any length that I want, right? So that is why you need to understand how your tables are connected and which key in which column, in which table are used for that connection, right? So aside all of that, the analytics development lifecycle, which is short for ADCL, goes from normally you analyze, right? Then you clean, you load, you design, you load, you clean, and then you sort of test. So for our own case, when you want to start a DBT project, or maybe you are creating a new model in DBT, the first thing is to define the questions and metrics that you want to measure, which means you get to meet with stakeholders, you get to ask questions. So maybe, for example, now the finance team wants to measure disparity in spendings across different departments. So that would mean that for each department, you need to start asking them, what are the things that you spent on this quarter, or maybe it's this month, or maybe it's this year? How many days, maybe for each team, they're expected to go on teams retreats. So a particular team can decide, oh, you know what, we are not traveling, and we want to do ours in Lagos. Some might decide, oh, we want to go and do our own in Benin. Oh, some might be, oh, it's so good that we want to go. Some might be, you know what, we want to go to New York. That's where we want to go. We want to attend a Snowflake event. So that way my team members can see the importance of, optimizing queries and all of those things, right? Maybe for a data team. So they want to see how can we ensure that all departments, right? No one is feeling like another team is spending money more than them. So we want to be able to shuffle the expenses or the budget for this month across all of these units, right? So you need to ask questions, and then what metrics will help the finance team make the key decisions that they want. Then the next thing is designing, which after getting all of the metrics and all of those things that you've gotten, now you need to design your data models. So am I doing just a one big table that contains all of the columns that are needed, or am I doing it in a dim and facts approach? So once this is finalized, then you load the data. Now, mind you, the data that you are loading it into the table that the analyst will feed on. So you are not just bringing data from maybe an ERP system now. The data is already available. The engineer has dropped it in wherever he used to drop his own flow. So once you load this, then you now do your transformation with DBT. Now, when you are doing the transformation with DBT, you can set some constraints, more like a data quality check, to ensure that every single information that you are pulling in is actually going into the right place. Yes, you will get the recording. And last but not the least, you can then validate and deploy. So this is where software principle sort of comes in. You test, you validate before you make to production, which is usually done through version control systems like Git, GitLab, and the rest that's out there, right? So for modern data stack, which brought about analytics engineering in full scope, because right now, literally every organization is looking for analytics engineer, someone to understand the business and that can also understand the technical side of things, right? So we start with the data sources. So the data sources can be your MySQL database, which is acting as your transactional database, your Shopify websites, your e-commerce that is maybe hosted on Amazon. Maybe you have like a custom WordPress website that is used for affiliate marketing and whatnot, right? Now, all of these data are all of these sources, they are your data sources that the organization is relying on. Then the next thing will be you want to ingest. So this data that is in MySQL database, maybe from your products, right? This data that is there, how do we bring it into where we can make use of it? So this is where the ingestion phase comes in. And there are different approaches to which you can use to ingest. But in terms of modern data stack, it's a whole lot of drag and drop, right? That's what the modern data stack is trying to do, ensure that you are doing less coding, especially in the ingestion layer. So we have tools like Airbyte, we have tools like Fivetran, but if you want to get your hand dirty, you can use tools like DLT, which is data load tool. You can use your normal Python to also, ingest data and, every other thing. Then, once this data is ingested, it needs somewhere to be stored. So it can be stored directly into your warehouse, which is usually going to be your raw schema. In our own case, this DBT dev is our own raw schema, where any data that is coming in now, who is writing on my screen? Chibuzo. Any data on my screen, how am I saying my screen? Any data from our sources is going to land in this DBT dev as a table, of course, right? Now, this table as it is showing the raw data. Now, we can see customer ID, customer unique ID. This customer unique ID now can be used in maybe one of our softwares or maybe one of our platforms, or this could be our affiliate marketing ID to know who is the person that referred this particular customer, right? So there is customer unique ID, there is zip code, there is city that you are coming from, and there is states that you are coming from. Now, this is the raw data that is coming to customers. Now, when I want to use this for a particular business case, I might not need every other information from this table, and I would need only just the customer ID. So it means that if my project is to focus on seeing how many sales each affiliate marketer has brought the business in the last quarter, I don't need every other information here. I just need this unique customer ID. So it means that every other information here is not relevant to that project, right? It's not relevant to that project. So this is where your raw data is going to be. Nothing is going to touch it. So this is raw, right? It has been loaded maybe with DLT or with Airbyte or with Fivetran, right? Now, this is our warehouse. I'm using Snowflake, right? Now, based on the project that I want to work on, remember we have the 5 steps: analyze, design, load, clean, and then do your testing to validate before you deploy. Now, depending on the project that I want to work on, that's what will determine which columns of this table am I going to be using, right? Which column of the customers table am I using? Which columns from the orders table am I using? Do I need the customer ID? Do I need the order status? Do I need, the purchase date, the day it was delivered? Or do I need to create new things out of all of these? Oh, I want to see how many days actually took for when the order was purchased to when it was actually delivered, right? I need to subtract order delivered minus order purchase date, right? To be able to get that. So all of these things that you want to do, it now happens in your transformational layer. You are already doing this, right? But the problem with the way you are doing it now is that it is not, I don't want to put it down. It is not optimized, right? For me, when I was working, the company I was previously working for, we usually do monthly reports, right? So it will be that I write query in my SQL, right? Export it out and then take it to Google Sheets, do visualization in Google Sheets, copy the charts, take it to PowerPoint to do slide that I want to present to the stakeholders, right? But that was not even the problem. The problem was that every single time I want to create the report, I have to be writing new set of queries because things have changed, right? And it's fine that things are changing because that MySQL is our transactional DB, is where all the activities from the web, from the mobile app, from the web app is being stored. A customer today can decide to delete their accounts, right? And when they do, that will reflect on when I'm writing the query for next month. Because if I have 20 customers subscribed in October, and now that customer has deleted their account or deletes his or her account in November 2, then when I'm running my query November 3rd, subscription or registration for October will drop by 1. Then I'll start looking for where is the problem coming from. This thing was 20 before, but now it's 19. And that is happening because, Databricks is okay. And now, that's the problem because the management will be wondering, you showed us 20 last month, but now you're showing us 19 now. What is happening? Then I'll start running Elta Skelter before I realize, oh yeah, this customer has, have his account yanked off from the DB, right? But if that is a case where I'm just putting this thing in a raw schema and then maybe the company itself has some sort of like a data lake that the raw information as they are coming in are being stored, then it's easier to know your data. There is this technical word, the differences in your data basically. So maybe we want to be measuring how many users are dropping off our platform every month. So is it that at least 5 people delete their accounts on our platform every month, right? Maybe that's the average. So we expect this November now, 5 people will delete their accounts, right? But all of a sudden, we are seeing or we are reading about 30 to 20 people have removed their accounts. Why? That's a problem. But when there is no data lake to be able to do this data comparison, that aspect is actually lost. So that's what one of the problems that we're facing then with the company. I will not mention their name. So now, then when you have your data warehouse, right, and you are done, so when you are using your DBT, you are still building back into that same data warehouse, right? You are not, though I've tried to do like maybe I can have my source in Snowflake, then build to like BigQuery, right? When that thing is done, I will write about it. But right now, you can only read from one warehouse and build back to that warehouse. And the reason is that when you are writing your DBT code, DBT writes in Ginger format, right? And when it writes in Ginger format, what it does is that it translates that thing that you have written to the syntax of your warehouse that you are sending to. So which means that all of us here, we write the same thing in DBT, the same syntax, everything in DBT. But when DBT is loading that table or that view into our data warehouse, it changes the syntax to match that of your warehouse. So for me, I'm using Snowflake. If I write anything in DBT and DBT converts it to Snowflake syntax, and that thing cannot fly in Snowflake, I will get an error. So I will need to change that. If you do yours and you run it, and maybe you are using Databricks, and now it converts it to Databricks syntax, and it works fine, you are good to go. Same thing with BigQuery, same thing with Redshift, right? Same thing with Postgres as well. So DBT takes your data and then your model or query or code or whatever it is and converts it to this syntax of the warehouse that you're using. So for us, we can build another schema, right? So right now, this is the schema that we'll be using. My Oga, I've left it like this. So these are our production or staging schema. Let's just call it that. But this is where we'll be building into. This is raw. DBT dev is raw, is where the raw data is loaded into. DBT Ahmed. Yeah. So now DBT Ayade Abel is where we are going to be building into. So anything we are building now is going to be building into this. For you, you can set, if you are using DBT core, you can set your destination schema, right? But if you are also using DBT cloud automatically takes your name, your username, right? And tag DBT to it to set like your staging schema for you. So anything I'm writing now is going to be built into this DBT Ayade. So all the tables, all the transformations and stuff that myself and the tutors that are still coming, everything will be built inside of this particular warehouse or schema basically. And then all of the tables, whether it's tables or views that we are building, will be seeing like literally everything here. Oh yeah, somebody did this. So I need to first even drop this so that we can start from scratch. So that is your DBT part. Then once you are now done, right, then the BI parts can now come in. So the BI parts can be Looker, can be Power BI, can be Tableau, can be Metabase, can be, preset, or whether it is Superset. I always mix those two names together. And then any form of business intelligence tool can now connect to that database that you have set up for this business side to be able to use, right? But before all of this thing goes into your production, like I said, testings would have gone in place. It could be unique tests that are specific to business, to your own business, or it could be like generic tests like a column should not be empty, a column should not have a duplicate value, a column should, the value in a column should be greater than 0. For example, now your quantity column, you can set a test to it to say, oh, this column, the value must be greater than 0, right? Because you cannot have -1 or 0 as quantity that is being ordered. But in your traditional MySQL or Postgres or whatever query it is, even if you are writing in Snowflake or BigQuery that you're writing, you cannot set all of these tests, which means that your current approach is not giving you full visibility into the quality of the data that you have until, when it gets to the business side, when the analysts are building dashboard or whatnot, right? Let me drop the schema. Drop schema DBT so that we can build from scratch. So yeah, and that is great. So now to the next part, basically, you can set up DBT in 2 parts, right? You can use DBT Cloud, which is free. So even if you want to introduce DBT to your company, you can use DBT Cloud. For one developer, it is free, right? I mean, for life. But if you want to, maybe you now have 2 people on your team that want to start using DBT, then you need to subscribe to the paid version, basically, right? Then the second one is you can use DBT Core, which is the free version. Now there is still like an ongoing debate whether DBT Core will still like be free for life now, with 5 track buying DBT and then also sweeping DBT SQL mesh of the market. So SQL mesh is like another thing like DBT. Just like now, you can use Pandas for transformation and then you can use PySpark for transformation. Both of them are used for transformation. So we have SQL mesh, we have DBT, and then there is one from BigQuery, but it's only to BigQuery environment alone. So maybe if tomorrow now, Google decides to also make it like warehouse independent, yeah, we might have like another data transformation tool in the market. But right now, just DBT and SQL Mesh are the ones that work with anywhere else. The third one is specific to BigQuery environment alone. So you can use DBT Core, right? And what that means is that you'll be writing it on your local system, in your maybe VS Code or whatever ID that you choose to be using. So that's DBT Core. Now, you can do hybrid, meaning that you're using DBT Cloud and DBT Core, right? So what that means is that DBT Fusion is, so right now, the DBT Core is running on, so just take DBT Fusion as the engine that is running DBT, right? So like, for example, now, before you can power on your system requires a certain OS, whether you're using Mac or you're using Windows or you're using Linux, right? So Linux OS powers your device to be able to work, for you to press the keys and then it recognizes and stuff. That's what DBT Fusion is. So it's just taking the engine that is currently running DBT and upgrading it. That's what DBT Fusion is in a layman's definition, right? So they just upgraded it and then add some new features to it, such that you don't need to get to your warehouse before you realize that you are calling a wrong column. So if we go back to big Snowflake now, and I run this table again. Now, okay, so, okay, sorry, let me just remove this. I was testing that unique customer ID to see which data is coming from it. That's where that is at. So now, this is my orders, right? Now, in these orders, let's assume that I call this order ID, but I miss the R in the order ID, and I just have ORDE_ID. With DBT Fusion now, it will let me know that, hey, you are calling a wrong column. You are not calling the full column. But right now with DBT Core, it is until when this thing is running and trying to talk to my data warehouse, that's when it will realize that, oh, this order ID column is not correct, right? So those are like there are some amazing new stuff that they've inputted into DBT Fusion, right? So that's it. So back to what I was saying, you can now use hybrid, meaning that you have a DBT Cloud account and then you are writing your code on your system. So you are not taking all the codes that you are writing, you are not taking it out of this environment. You are writing it on your VS Code, and then when you push, you are using your DBT Cloud as the orchestrator, which is another thing in the DBT Fusion. I think they said it's free for a certain period and then you start paying, right? So, but most companies are still like, sticking with DBT Core, right? So for the hybrid, you write on your local system, push to your GitHub, then you use your DBT Cloud to do orchestration, right? So orchestration is another thing when we are talking about modern data stack. So it's like, I don't want to wake up tomorrow morning, right, and run a script. I want to automate that script execution. That, hey, you see, this script, be running yourself automatically every 10 a.m. from Monday to Friday, right? You can do, whatever configuration thing that you want with orchestrators. right? So now, if you are using core, right, you need to install adapter. So if it is BigQuery that you are installing or that you want to work with, you do dbt BigQuery. If it is Snowflake, dbt Snowflake. If it is Databricks, dbt Databricks. If it is Postgres, dbt Postgres, and a bunch of other things like that. Now, when you are done, right, maybe you install dbt core, and then you want to set up. The first keyword is dbt init, and that would give you like a bunch of these things like this, like you are seeing in my file explorer here. This is what the default dbt core will give. It's dbt init, right? This is what it will give you, like this, from top to bottom. Now, each of these things are different parts that makes dbt a good tool for data transformation. Now, analysis is those codes that you use to test something, right? But you don't want them you don't want them to build as a table. Example would be I'm currently I'm with two companies basically, right? I mean, from Bridge, I'm working with two different clients. Now, one of the clients, they are currently using Stitch. Stitch is also another ingestion tool. They are currently using Stitch to ingest data into a raw schema in Snowflake. Then from Snowflake, dbt will take it and then transform it to like a production table. Now, Stitch is no longer working for them because Stitch cannot do anyhow data formats. You must put the data in a structured format, that is in Excel format, and it must not have any misalignments. So it must be properly formatted. Now, the data that these guys are ingesting, they are getting it from their partners. Now, the partners are sending the data in form of a report, which means that, Excel that has report, it has like one big title, then followed by another one, then followed by another one, and a whole bunch of different headings. Now, Stitch cannot take this data and ingest it. So what they will do is that they assign somebody that will take this data and transform it into the format that Stitch will take. Then they will now use Stitch to ingest into Snowflake. Now, the person that is doing this thing, right, is spending more time to convert the data into what Stitch will take. Now, they are spending about maybe $6,000 to $7,000 every month, right? Because they are ingesting like tons of data. Now, they were like, we are doing like 60% of the workload for Stitch already. So why do we keep paying them this exorbitant amount just to load this thing? So they talk to the engineering, you know what, get us a way of ingesting this data as it is. We don't care if this person that is doing this conversion can still be doing it, but we don't think we want to keep spending money on Stitch. It pays us to just increase this person's salary than to be paying this ridiculous amount to Stitch every now and then. Now, when the whole project idea was brought to my attention, I was like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. For me, it's a very straightforward thing. Just read CSV file and store it in Snowflake table, and that's just it. That's what Stitch was collecting $7,000, $8,000 per month from them for, right? So I was like, I can do this. But then the major problem was not Stitch just doing pd.read CSV and then load to database. The major problem was first converting this file from report format to the format that Stitch can use. Because even if they did not format it, my pandas cannot take it directly and ingest. So I still need to be able to put it in a format that they still need to put it in that same CSV format. So what I had to do was I had to sit down with the person that was, doing it. That, hey, first thing, I have a few questions. The first question is that this shape, this file format, has it ever changed since you start, formatting it to a structured format? She said no. Okay. What are the things that are usually changing in this table? She mentioned the things that are usually changing. I said, you know what? Let's do this. We'll be reading this file as your partner is sending it. So let's take the workload of you transforming this thing. Let's take it off and then put it in a program. Let's build a software for it that will do the transformation, and it will preview the final file before you can now ingest it. So you know, oh, when this thing did this transformation, this part is not correct, right? And I need to correct it. Or let's take it back. The project, the management was thinking maybe just like a 1 day, 2 day thing because they just want us to do PD or CSV and then load the database. But now we are taking the approach of don't just do this. Let's take the workload off this person. Since it's a software, you should be able to handle it. That project took about a month, but all thanks to God. It's one of the things that anytime they are talking, they say, oh, Ayo, man, just get Ayo's opinion on what you want to do, right? And that would help us to better understand what it is that we need to do, right? So when you want to solve a problem, don't just solve it like, hey, you know what, let's just solve it once. Think of something ahead. And that was what the developers of DBT sort of also thought about that. Okay, there is Python that you can use for data cleaning. Then can we make something out of SQL that SQL is what people use the most to talk to databases? Can we also turn it like a transformational tool? And that's what brought about DBT, right? So when you have this is basically your structures. So back to that story now. So they are ingesting data from two different partners. So let's call partner A and partner B, right? Now, for partner A, their data they have like a data that has been loaded into Snowflake from like 2015, right? But for partner B, they just started working with partner B this year. So partner B does not have so much data like that. And they only send them 4 data per month, which is weekly basis, right? Now, the lady in charge said, you know what? I can reload all of the data for partner B once and for all. But you see, for partner A, that data is too heavy. I mean, from 2015 till now, right? So let's take the one that we have in Snowflake and sort of transform it into the one that into the format that we currently have right now. So what that means is that all the transformation that we did in the app, we have to take some of those transformations and apply it to the one that is now already stored in Snowflake. Now that code, I could have just, once it's done, I can leave it on my system because I mean, nobody will use it again. But for the sake of documentation and transparency, we have to put that code inside analysis folder. So now every team member have access to that code. So if anybody wants to know, oh, how did we take the data in this table and format it into what is now being used in production, all of them can access that file. So any file that you are not using, you don't want to build into your warehouse, they are kept in the analysis folder. Macros are functions. They are like your store procedures, right? That can do things like reusable SQL logics, your views that you store somewhere that you can call in different places and all of that. Models is where the main work is happening. Model folder is where you will build every single thing. Now, there are different approaches to how different organizations build their DBT projects. Right now, for us at Bridge, we follow the medallion architecture, right? Meaning that we have the silver, bronze, and gold layer, right? For one of our clients, they have a different approach, right? They have staging, intermediates, maths, and then I can't even remember the last one, maybe core, yeah, core, right? They have 4 folders. We are using three folders approach. And now for each silver layer, gold layer, or bronze layer, for any projects that we are doing. So let's say, for example, now we are working with a client called Shipper, right? Or maybe Shopper. Now, for us to set up Shopper projects, we would have Shopper folder in our silver layer, we have Shopper folder in our bronze layer, we have Shopper folder in our gold layer. So that way we are able to build each layer for each project and we are able to track what exactly is going on. And that's the approach that we are going to take, right? Then once all of this is done, for you to even first confirm, except you are using DBT Cloud, which will help you to like test your connections immediately. But if you are even using DBT Core, you first need to do DBT debug, which will check the credentials that you have passed in versus what is actually active in your warehouse to see if that credential is correct, right? So for our project structure, like I said, we'll be focusing more heavily on the models folder, at least for my own session, right? So we can have either do staging, intermediate maths, right? That can work, or we can go through the medallion architecture form. Actually, medallion architecture and staging intermediate math, they're actually the same, just that in your maths, you have like, tons of things, like structurally looking at it, or yeah, it looks like they are the same thing. So now, in our model folder, right, I'm going to create 3 different now when you set up your DBT project, it usually comes with a default example folder, my DBT1 and my second DBT, and that's all you can see in this I've deleted that schema, so yeah, it's not going to show again, right? So if I run this thing now, it's going to rebuild that schema that I just dropped off. It's going to rebuild it again, but I don't need this example folder, so I can delete it, right? So it's gone, right? So I don't have that folder again. Now you can see that this thing here is now in orange color, meaning that I've done something and I need to commit this. Now, if I save this to because me and my instructor branch, so for every organization, basically, you are going to have a Git repo for your DBT projects. If you have more than 2 people, even if it's just 1 person that is working on your DBT project, always build to a branch, because if there is a problem, you can always go back. An example was yesterday, I was working on a project, basically, right? And I made a silly mistake. Funny enough, I don't even know how that thing came about, right? It was when I was reviewing why this thing was failing. That was when I saw. So in DBT, let me create my folder. I will come back to that story. Now, if I sync this thing, if I commit this thing, it's going to go to my instructor folder, right? You don't need to actually be an expert in CT to use. And yes, thanks for raising that. DBT rely heavily on like CTs, right? Because it's very structural and easy to read. But that does not mean that you cannot write your normal SQL that you write in your MySQL and stuff. It's not like you cannot write it. You can, right? But DBT structurally more pause on using CTE, right? It's sweet when you use CTE, but you cannot do your temporary table that you used to do in SQL Server. You cannot do it here, right? Here you do your because your model is a table. Your model can be a table, can be a view, can be ephemera, which means like a subquery that is not executed. DBT will just take that code and swap it into your query when it's running against your warehouse, right? So I'm going to create 3 folders now, right? Silver, bronze, and gold. So I'm going to click on that dot and create a folder. So this is silver. Now, silver is my staging, right? On your end, you can use staging. So silver is my staging, which means that all of these data here that we have in this place. Yes, Benga, have you loaded your data in now?
Yeah, so I realize that the data are so big, so it's still loading. But my question, I want to ask a question, right? So
Yeah,
I
go
already
ahead.
started with DBT Labs to, do some baby steps and learn some things, which is
Okay.
just like you said, under models, we have example, my first model, my second model. So I was not trying to create another project entirely for this YDP bootcamp totally, so that I can start afresh, but I'm having issues doing that. I don't know why.
In your DBT Cloud?
Yes, DBT Cloud.
Yeah, so right now you can only have 1 project in the free DBT Cloud account.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So now I have my silver. So which means that this information here, as all of them are in this table, that is how they are going to be in this silver layer, right? Now, for every organization, they have what is called DBT project guide, right? Now, one of our clients has that in your, they even have those two layers. They have the silver layer and they have the bronze layer. Yes, I'm using DBT Cloud right now. So that's why I'm not doing anything on my VS Code. Now, they have two layers, silver and gold straight. They removed bronze, right? So they just have silver and straight to gold. Now, what they are doing is that in their silver, there is like a documentation for this, that in their silver, you can do any sum of transformations that you want, but you cannot do join in their silver, and then you cannot do aggregates in their silver, but you can do any other thing. Case statements, mention it, you can do it. It is in the gold layer now that you can now do joining and you can now do aggregation. But you see, there is another client that are using silver, bronze, and gold. Now, in their own silver, the only thing you can do is rename a column. That's the only thing you can do. So maybe for this column now, this order purchase timestamp now, I can rename it as order date. That's all I can do in the silver layer for these other clients. That's all I can do. Now, in their bronze layer now, I can now start filtering out things that I don't want. Oh, maybe for this specific project now, I only want to see the orders that were placed in, maybe October of 2017. So I can do that in the bronze layer. I can do filling up null rows, all of those things. Now, there are specific functions you can use. In Snowflake, you can use varchar and text. They are both string functions, but you see, they are more focused on you using varchar than using text. So if your model, you are trying to format something, right? Yes. Thank you, Jerry. I'm always missing that thing. Silver, bronze, silver, gold, and yeah, bronze, silver, gold, bronze, silver, gold. Yes, that's the correct arrangement. Thank you. So now, I'm always taking that B and bringing it in front of S. So now, in their silver layer now, right, you can do qualis and all of those. Now, they prefer qualis to if null. You cannot use no, if null in their own DBT projects. They are not going to accept that PR. You cannot use, if you are casting a column, you want to cast it as a text column. They prefer that you cast it as a variable character than casting it as a text. If you want to convert maybe a positive number to negative, they prefer that you use minus ABS than doing amount times -1. Though we have different ways that we can achieve the same result, but they have a preferred way of doing their things. Now, for organizations that does not have, that falls on you to start coming up with the best practice that the organization should follow. Oh, you should do this in this layer, don't do this in this layer, don't do this in this layer, right? So that is like the flow. So bronze first, right? Before silver. So in bronze, we are just loading all of these things as they are. In silver now, would do some transformations, basically maybe change a column name, filter some data that we don't need, and all of those things. Then the gold layer now, we now follow the dimensional modeling approach, where we are going to have the facts and then the dimensions, right? And then you can have maths that's built for specific business units. So I'm going to create another folder now called bronze. So for us, I think we might, for my own session, we will be more focused on the bronze layer, basically, because this is where you do your setup. Now, once you have this, there are now two things that DBT is expected of you. or that you are supposed to do actually if you want to use DBT to its full extent. And that is, you have a schema and then you have your model. So what is a schema? So schema is like the description of the things that you have in your model. Now I'm calling it model. It's basically just an SQL file. So you have an SQL file that extracts all the customers' data. Now you want to have a file that describes that thing. That is what the schema is. Now then, another approach is, how do we bring in our source information? So another of our clients, right? I've seen different approaches, honestly. Another of our clients, they have like one folder. So inside of this place like this, I can create a file and I will call this sources.yaml file, right? So they have one single file for all of their sources. So which means that any source that you want to reference in your bronze layer, it must be inside of this thing. If you are creating a new project or you are creating a new model that needs to reference data from a database that is not already existing in these sources or YAML file, and you go and put it inside of this place, they will not accept the PR. Now, right now, this file is becoming bloated because literally all of their model rely, at least all of the model in the bronze layer rely on this thing. And for them, it's good because they have just one place to go and look at all of their sources file. But it's also bad because if something should happen to this file, it means that all of their model, right, will not work. So for you to connect, you need to clone the repo on GitHub. So when you clone it on GitHub, it will appear in your own repo. Then it will appear in your own account. Then you can connect it. Now, this is how their own approach goes. But sometimes you would see another setup, like somebody will put a new folder here, right? And call this maybe for a specific project and call these sources, right? Now, inside of these sources, I will now have just one single file, right? Inside of these sources, I will have one single file, not folder. I will have one single file, and I will call these sources.yaml file, right? So sources.yaml file. So these can go inside maybe another project. Let me see. So let's say this is project YDP Bootcamp, right? So let's create that folder, and then I'll move these sources inside there. So I'll move this inside here, right? So now we can see. So YDP is a project. So another project can be, let's say we have something called shoppers, right? This is another project, shoppers. So now each one now, we now be having, so shoppers now, we also have his own folder called sources, right? And inside of that sources, or maybe source, if it is just one thing. Now inside of this, I will now have a file called source.yaml file, right? So it depends on which approach works for you. But one of the things that you should always put into consideration when you are setting up is that, how will I be able to manage this thing when our data model is now growing? Because the more models you are creating, the harder it is for you to manage some kind of structure. Now, another client, now inside of this YDB Bootcamp, there is sources which contains just our source files alone, right? Here I can have schema. So schema is going to be everything about the models that I have in this. You know that this is just my bronze model. So I have schema here. So inside of this schema now, let's say maybe this is my first model, dot YAML file, right? This is my first model.yaml file, will be the description. I shouldn't even put it as my first model. Let's rename it and say this is customer, right? Customers.yml. So let's start using our original names. So this is customers.yml, right? Inside of schemas. What happened? Let me delete this thing. So now network, right? But if I'm doing this thing in my local system, schemas, right? So schemas just means my documentations, right? So let's create this. And inside of schemas, I will now create a file. This is my first dbt my first dbt. We renamed it to customers, right? Customers.yaml file. Now we have customers .yaml file right here. Now inside of this, my dbt itself, I will now have create a file called this customers.sql, right? Customers.sql and create this, right? So now, what does this mean for me is that this is my model that will be built into my warehouse, but I'm describing this model inside of schema, customer.yaml file. So if I have geolocation, orders, order items, order reviews, all of them, they will have their own .yaml file inside of this place. But all of them are referencing just one source file, right? In some places, I might drag this source out and have this sources folder removed, right? And take this source.yaml file and bring it inside of schemas here. Like, no, not customer, you. I'm coming. We'll rearrange it. So you here, okay? Schemas, and then let's drag our customer back into YDP. Yes. So now if I collapse YDP, nothing is showing again. So YDP, I have schemas, right? Oh, this is bronze. That should not be inside of that place. Yes, it should be outside there. Nope, it should be outside models like this. Yes. So now, these are schemas which explain my source, my customer models. This is YDP, which is a project. Shoppers is a project. YDP is a project. So let's focus on YDP. So now we go inside my Silver and then create YDB Bootcamp schemas, which will take now it will just take my transformation models, right? Basically at this point. So if we come here, create a new folder, YDP Bootcamp, right? This is now in my Silver layer now, right? And then inside of that, of YDP, I'm just going to have schemas, right? So schemas here now will now be the definition of my metrics, right? So schemas is here. So inside of this schema now, I can create a file and call this maybe so this is going to be customers.sql. So this first one here will not be customers.sql. This first one here is going to be staging. So let's rename this. So this is going to be stg underscore, yeah, because we need to identify that, oh, this guy is staging. So this is staging, right, in my bronze. Then some organizations has like different ways that they can you would see, I think there is a way to do that diagram thing, right? It will appear when we start doing our model joinings and stuff, right? So this approach now is one of many that I've seen, right? One of many. So schema contains every .yml file for this YDB bootcamp. and every other thing that is .sql, they are inside of this main YDB Bootcamp. So you know exactly where to look for. If you are looking for a model description, you know that, oh, go to the schemas folder and check if that particular thing. And for this one, it's also going to be renamed as STG_customer because it needs to be staging, right? Now, all of these things are now outlined like this, right? Different approaches, different ways of doing things. For one of our customer, they have like a schema folder inside of this same DBT, just like they have single source file here. They have a new folder here called schemas. And these schemas now takes all of their model descriptions, both staging, both silver, both gold. It takes it. And to them, that's working, but it doesn't make sense because it's going to become hard to maintain, because the more people are adding things to this particular that folder, the more it's going to be becoming a problem for them. I think I did not put this one inside of silver schemas. Imagine, so it did not go there. So this should be here. Yeah, so this customer should be inside of schema. Yeah, so I think that's arranged, right? Yeah, that's arranged. So customers, but even at this point, right, there are different naming conventions. For some organizations, right, what they will tell you to do when you are naming your, you can say schemas. So these two now can be, but I'm going to delete them. We don't need them. We are not following that approach. For some companies, they will say that when you want to name your model, you name it as staging, the data warehouse, the schema, the database before the table. When I saw that guideline, I was just laughing that the name of the model will be too long. So I'm going to have staging __. Maybe in our own case now, our warehouse is warehouse staging. It now be __ dbt dev __ customers.sql. That's also like one. When my colleague was telling me, I was just laughing that these people are different approaches, right? So for us, we can say, oh, this thing should be staging _ the schema _ the table. So merely looking at it, you can know which schema this staging customer is coming from, right? And all of that. So different approaches for different naming conventions. But let's get our answer. Let's start with our sources.yaml file. So the sources.yaml file, we list every single source that we want to work with, right? And it starts with a very simple thing of saying sources, right? Like this. And then name. What does it mean? Name is how, so name can be two things. It can be the name of your database, right? Or you can give it any name, right? So maybe for this data now is coming from OList, right? So I can say, oh, this is OList. That's the name I'm giving it. Yes, Adetutu. Okay, probably that's a mistake. So now, OList.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was trying to unmute. Okay,
Okay.
please. I see that you created YDP Bootcamp in both bronze and silver. So,
Yes.
can you just do a recap, quick one of just the breakdown? Let's just focus on bronze. Let's just see the folders and the YAML file and the content of each of the folders on that bronze. That's just all, just to show you don't need to delete anything. Thank
Okay,
you.
yeah, makes sense. Yeah, Jide, go ahead.
Yeah, for me, my question is even that what is the purpose? What is the actual purpose of YDP Bootcamp? Is it like they're doing something different from bronze and silver? Why do we have to have
That
YDP? I was thinking it's just okay, bronze will do our transformation into silver and into gold, and then that's it.
Okay, all right. Amazing questions. So, just like I said earlier, there are different approaches, right? So now, YDP Bootcamp is one of the projects that could be happening under this analytics project repo or analytics project account, right? So, for me to be able to differentiate which project is for which thing, that is why I have YDB Bootcamp, I have Shopper, and then I can have other things, right? But if this account is mainly for one business unit, maybe for your marketing alone, which in several cases is not going to be, right? You cannot just have your schema directly under bronze and then your staging customer directly under bronze. You need to be able to segregate each project. So each project does basically means you are building for different departments. So if I'm building for marketing now, in my bronze, I will need to have marketing folder where their schema and then their staging models are. Then in the silver layer, I will need to have marketing as well. Then in the gold layer, I can have marketing and then, have my dim and facts and in whatever direction I want to take it. But if I have everybody just join together, yeah, just a minute. If I have everybody just join together, it will become hard to track because now I'm not including the department's name in my naming convention, which could be another thing that you can introduce. Okay, so if you are building this thing for marketing, let your model be named staging, department name, and then the table that you are building, right? Yes, you can build your sources in each department, and that's what we are doing actually, right? You build each one inside of each department, so that way it's easier to track. Yeah, go ahead, Olajide.
Okay, another question I want to ask is that can we have bronze schema and gold inside each of the projects, like YDP underscore bootcamp has its own bronze, silver, and gold, and then the .yaml.
Yes, so in your bronze now, so this is YDB Bootcamp, right? So the only two things that are inside of YDB Bootcamp is the schema, which are what is describing the model and the models. So that same thing is what you are going to have in your silver, which is what we have here. That same thing is what you are going to have in your gold. Now,
No, okay.
so go ahead.
Okay, what I mean is that YDP Bootcamp will be like the main folder. So it will now have its own standalone bronze, silver,
Okay,
and
okay. I
that's
get
why
what you are
is that
saying.
possible?
Is another structuring. Nothing cannot work, like I said. It is how manageable will this thing be on the long run. So what you are saying is that inside of this our model folder, right? Let's not call it YDP, let's call it marketing, right? So this is marketing. Now inside of marketing, I want to have so this is marketing. Inside of marketing, I want to have the bronze, right? I
Yeah,
want to
exactly.
have the silver, right? And then I want to have the gold, right? Then this works too, right? I can have it. Now, I can have in this place my sources.yaml file like this and not necessarily take it inside of bronze, right? I can have a single schema folder, right? That's every model, both bronze, both gold, both silver, all of them will be having their schemas inside of this thing. There is nothing that does not work. But what matters is how will you be able to manage this thing when it starts growing? That's just your bone of contention. So nothing does not work. The only thing that will not work is you are not referencing the right model or you are not calling the correct, the correct sources. That's all. Right? So there is nothing that does not work. So Adetutu, did I answer your question?
Okay, so I just I wanted to I think you opened up to a folder of YDP Bootcamp and I was able to catch that. That's
Okay.
on that browser. I wanted to just see the yes
Yeah, this is
schema
it.
and
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So people, this approach that I'm using, again, it is not like the standardized approach, right? The naming convention I'm using is not like the standardized that, oh, this is what you must use. Every organization have different approaches, right? Some are ridiculous, some are not. Some says in our silver layer, you cannot do anything other than rename a column. Some says in our silver layer, okay, yeah, they remove bronze, they jump to silver. Some says in our bronze, in our own silver layer, you can do anything aside joining and aggregating, right? So which means that for that organization, they eradicate the entire bronze aspect. For some, they do staging, intermediate, math, and inside of math, they have core. That's a different approach entirely. So again, things that you look out for is how will I be able to manage this thing as the team is growing? What will it be like when we are looking for a particular model? How easy will it be for me to be navigating through different approaches? Now, having this approach also works because I know that, okay, I'm going to the marketing people. Now, in marketing, I'm looking at their good layer. Now, their good layer, I'm looking for a particular model, as simple as that. Oh, the marketing folks, they are the ones that are pulling data from Google Ads, website analytics, Twitter, whatever, TikTok, all of those things. So their sources is straight for me to look at. Different approaches, different structure. And again, everything works, right? Everything. Nothing is defined by DBT. It's your organization, your workflow, right? But DBT has like what they propose that you should use. It just depends if your organization is going to do it. The clients that I said we converted like 1,000 column store procedure from store procedure to DBT projects. When we were doing testing phase, one of the engineers says, we don't need to have the silver layer. Just go from bronze to matte to the gold layer straight. That it does not see the necessity of having the silver layer. And that was just like their own approach. So when you join, you definitely see different approach. But if you are the one that is starting it now, you are the one that will need to start laying the groundwork. And if you lay a bad foundation, the people that are coming in the future, they will swear for you because you are giving them too much work. Yes, Victor, go ahead. We need to, after this question, let's just get back to working. Yeah, Victor, go ahead. Let me delete this.
Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I like the fact that you are using different scenarios as regards this, which is very nice. But and I think for every of those approach, I think there are kind of limitations to them, which
Of course.
which is good. But I'm trying to ask. So what is now the best practice that even if the data evolve over time, that it's still maintainable in this context? Is there any? When I'm creating a folder, I'm putting all the three stages there, the bronze, the silver, and the gold. And then is there like a best practice, like even if data evolve, it's still maintainable? Is there something like that?
Okay, so I think the only best practice in terms of how you should go about building your models is that depending on the size of the data that you're ingesting, say for example now, at the start, you are just ingesting 2,000 rows. Yes, you can have your model to build as a table. That's fine. So what that means is that every time your table wants to build, DBT will drop off the one that is currently in your production and then create another one, right? You can do that for 5,000, 100,000, 500,000 rows and whatnot. But immediately your data start growing, maybe start entering 1,000,000 row plus and whatnot. It is no longer advisable, even though it's still going to work on, but it is no longer advisable to have that table build as that model build as a table. you can now introduce something called maybe an incremental model. So what that means is that it will only ingest or insert the data that are not existing in that table. So it will not delete that table. It will just add new things that are not there to it. So that is like one approach. Another could be all of your models in the bronze layer. Build them as all of your model in the bronze layer, build them as a view, because nobody is going to be doing too much on this. But all of your models in the silver layer, build them as a table, so that because these guys are closer to the final model that you are using for analytics, so their operating time or their operation time is going to be shorter compared to when you make what you have in your silver layer to build as views. This part here, nobody is really using them. They are raw. They are coming in as they are, so they can still be as a view. But when it gets here, start making them as a table. Now, in your gold layer now, you can now start having incremental model. You can start having ephemeral, which means that I can take a model and turn it to a subquery in another model when DBT is running that operation, right? So that is like the only part where I can say, oh, there are like different things that people can say. But when it comes to structure, you can pick ideas from different things that you read online and so and say, oh, okay, I think this approach is best. Now, the other clients that I said they have all of their schemas in just one single folder, and both bronze, both silver, both gold, they're in that thing. Now they are separating it out because that particular folder is becoming too much for them to handle. So what they are doing now is that for each model, like we have YDP now, you create a schema folder inside of YDP and drop that particular model schema inside of this place. Don't go and drop it in their one big schema folder anymore. Why? That approach is no longer serving them. It was serving them when they start the old DBT thing, but now it is no longer serving them. So a particular approach can serve you while you are starting, but as your project tends to grow, then it becomes too hectic. Now, this is the approach that we are using now, right? Now, this project could grow so much that we now have like tons of names here, and I will now have to come here, check for YDP. Maybe we now have like over 200 different projects. I will come here, check for YDP, go inside silver, check for YDP, go inside gold, check for YDP. That's like too much workload. What I can now do is maybe follow, what's his name now? Is it David?
Jide.
Follow his approach, Jide. Follow his approach of having YDP as a direct folder on that model. So which means that YDP now we have his own bronze, silver, and gold. So that way it's easier for me to manage everything in just one single place. So I want to look at marketing. I don't have to open bronze to check for marketing. I don't have to open silver to check for marketing. I don't have to open gold to check for marketing. Just one single marketing folder contains everything about marketing. That approach, I can switch to that later on. But right now, this approach seems to work for me because here I can identify each layers directly. Oh, this is my bronze layer. Oh, this is my silver layer. But when it starts growing, I might need to change approach, right? So those are like what I can say on that. You can still ask this question when tomorrow, right? Another tutor can still give you another approach. Like I said, different organizations, different things. You will see some company and you'll be laughing like, who set up your DBT project, right? Because the approach is also. So yeah, so let's continue, right? So back to our sources, the YAML file. So now this name, right, can be anything. It can be something that talks about the source, where the data itself is coming from, or it could be your database name, right? It could be your database name, right? Or this could be database name. Anything works. It can be a custom name, right? A custom name or database name, right? Now, sometimes when you have like same table from two different databases, say for example now, I have this, now I've named this as O list. So let's say maybe I have another source called A list, and A list also have like customer table. Then I will need to use this flag database, right? Database is usually optional if you don't have two tables with the same name coming from different sources, right? This was a problem that I faced recently, actually, right? Everything in my model, I do not have the database name flag. You can include it, you can decide to not include it, right? We don't use the database name flag. None of our models, with this particular client, none of our models has the database name flag. Everything is just name, schema, tables, straight up. But now, there is a particular table, let's call that table customers, and it's coming from two different databases. Now, at the point where DBT is building, where DBT is compiling, DBT is taking the customer from another database to be used in another database, and that was causing problem. So we now had to introduce this. This is the first time. They even had to reject the PR that they don't use this flag. Why did I use it? And I had to jump on a call and walk them through that this is why. So they were like, okay, should they go and rename that first customer name? And I said, okay, if you go ahead and rename it, then it means that every other sources that is using that thing might start having problem. So this is just a one flag, and we can put the reason why we are using this flag. Somebody else can also encounter that problem later in the future, so they know exactly what to do, right? So the database name flag is usually not compulsory, but if you have two sources that have same name for a table, you might want to introduce the database flag. That is how DBT will be able to differentiate that. So for our database name is warehouse stage, warehouse underscore STG, right? Then the next thing is my schema, right? So my schema is DBT underscore ENV. Let me be sure that I have that correct. DBT dev, right? So DBT dev. Now I can have my tables, right? So now under my tables, now I can have a description. Yes, Olajide.
Okay, I noticed that one is in uppercase and one is in lowercase. It doesn't matter, right?
It does not matter, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, name. Okay, I can add a description here, right? I can say maybe after schemas, I can have like a description, and this is going to be the description for these sources diagram. If you can see that I don't have anything that is saying for my sources, so I can add its own description here. So this is the sales data from O list, right? So these will show in my documentation when I'm looking at these sources. It will let me know where the database is coming from and all of the tables that are in it. So my first table name is customers, right? So customers. Now, if I want to add any tests to my table, maybe like source refreshness and all of those things, I can add them, but I don't need them, right? The next one is geolocation orders. So let's have geolocation. Next is orders. What's next? So we have order item, order payments, order reviews, order underscore items, name, order underscore payments, order underscore reviews, What's next? Product categories, sellers. Okay, so products, product underscore categories. Is it categories like this or category? Okay, it's category. And last but not the least, sellers. Okay, so this is my source.yaml file, right? Something is wrong somewhere. Is missing property name. But this is name here now. What do you mean by is missing property name? So now let's come to my staging.yaml file, right? There's no geolocation there. Oh, geolocation is here. This is geolocation, geo and location. So it's here. Thank you. Okay, so now, okay, so let's go to our customer, right? Now, materialization. We mean in the seed folder that we clone. Oh, okay. Yeah, just ignore that if it's not there, right? So let me punch it off, right? So if it's not there, let me punch it off. So now, materialization, right? Now, materialization means how DBT will build your project, right? Will it build it as a table? Will it build it as a view? Will it build it as a subquery that will now be passed into another model, right? There are like thousands of tags that you can add to your DBT project, and you can define your model materialization in two places. First is inside of the model itself, which take preeminence over every other one. And the second is in your DBT project, right? So now I can come down to this part here, right? This is where you set your materialization for your models. Now, what I can do is this. I can say bronze, right? If I say bronze, what this means is that every single model inside of this bronze folder, irrespective of whether they are divided into project based, they are all going to be built as a view. All of them are going to be built as a view. If I want, okay, the things that are inside of YDP only to be built as a view and not every other thing, then I need to start setting it in a different way, right? I need to start setting it a different way. If I want everything to be built as a table, I can set this as a table. Now, if I want what is inside of these guys to be built as a table instead of view, I can start setting them here, right? And when I do, it means that the data will not have, like, what I have in my DBT project will not take effect because I've set my materialization as a view. Yes, Olajide, please go ahead.
So, when you opened that profile,
Yeah,
can you
DBT
scroll down?
project.
Yeah. So I saw something and I didn't understand.
Where is
So
that?
in that, no, can you scroll up? I mean, in this DBT project, there was a place where it said models, and then I saw YDP bootcamp there.
Yeah, this place, model name.
No, no, not this place where you were setting the views.
This place.
Okay. So now here is it that the only place where we can set is maybe under the subgroups like the bronze or something. Why is it that we are defining YDP underscore DBT bootcamps under models directly and not the bronze first, then YDP underscore? Like, I don't understand why it has to be like this when it's different under the file explorer. I don't know if you get
Okay.
my question.
Yes, I get your question. Now, the name that you are seeing here is our DBT project name. That's the same name that you are seeing in this place. This thing, YDP_DBT bootcamp, is the project name. So when you do DBT in it, you give it a name. That's the name that is here, not this YDB bootcamp that you are seeing in this place. They are different.
Okay.
Yes, they are different. So this one is the name for the project, for this entire DBT project, yes. But for your organization, maybe your organization is Shopper. We can call this Shopper DBT, right? So the name under your model is going to be, is the name that you use in developing is the name that is used in developing, that you set when you are creating your DBT project, not what we have in this place.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So
Yes.
if I get you clearly now, let's say my organization is OAL and I do DBT in it
Okay.
OAL. What will be under this model will be OAL.
Exactly, it will be OAL. So let's say
Okay.
this is now our name now. Let's just change this. No, let's change it to list, since that's the name of the company that we are using their data sets. So we are now a consulting firm now. So list is one of our clients, right? So let's rename these as well to list instead of YDP, so that thing is not causing confusion, right? So let's have it like this. So the name that you use in setting up your DBT project is what we appear here. So you can see that we've changed this thing and none of these things changed, right? So they are different. Yeah. So now, in terms of config, basically, yes, Binga.
Thank you so much, Ayade. So now, throughout my own experience with DBT, I be my learning journey. So where I usually get stuck most of the time is all this naming, not naming convention. How do I put it now? So number one, we have the .yaml file, right? And we have so much of it. So I know that when we name our project, there's usually a default project, a default .yaml file that automatically comes up, like just like we are seeing here, like the what's it called now? This
DBT project.
exactly. Now there's also profiles.yaml file. So I don't know
Yes.
if can you help to like say, okay, now basically majorly now every YAML file that automatically or by default comes up in your project are just two majorly. So what does profiles.yaml file, what does it really tell us? So we can go and be writing this code, but I just want to know profiles.yaml file, this is what we need, this is what it's telling us. The DBT project.yaml file, this was actually telling us. You understand what I mean? Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Thanks for all this, your conk question. If I know, I will have not take today's class. So, but let's go. Now, project dot, okay. So a YAML file is like, say you work on a project now. Let's take, for example, you want to hire, okay, yes, this is it. You want to cook jollof rice or whatnot, right? You need like a list of ingredients, right? And then you need like a guide on how to go about cooking that jollof rice. So that guide is some sort of documentation that says, oh, first thing is you parboil your rice, the next thing is you cook your vegetables, and next thing is you do this, and next thing is you do that, right? That thing in the context of data space is what is known as a YAML file. So it's just like a document, but the extension is yet another markup language. So that's why it is called YAML, right? So it's a documentation that helps you it just gives description of what you are doing, basically, right? That is what it does. I'm seeing your hand, Oshio. That's what it does, basically, right? It just helps you to give DBT. They are by default two YAML file that you would see. If you are using DBT core, right, you will see DBT profile, DBT project or YAML file. What this thing entails is that first, it carries the name of your DBT project. That is the normal thing now, not the one that we are building in your bronze, silver, and the likes, right? It is going to show your DBT project name. It is going to tell us which profile is that project going to be using. Remember that whether we are using list, we have marketing, we have accounting, all of them, they are going to be built in one particular database, right? So this thing is helping us to know those credentials that is needed for this project to talk to that database. Where are they stored? They are stored in this profile called YDP_bootcamp, right? Now, this also tells us what folders you have. So you have the model part. What this thing is telling DBT is that, hey, any folder that you can see inside of this thing called models, any file that you can see there that ends with .sql, build it inside of this person's warehouse, right? So create the table, whether they set it as a table or whether they set it as a view, create it there. Anything in the analysis part, don't touch it, let it be. Anything in the seed folder, if this person run any command that has to do with seed, go to this place, to this folder, and take all the data that are there and load it for this user. Sometimes, like one of our clients now, they don't have seed. What they implemented is that they rename seed to data, to static, right? They rename seed to static. And they come inside of this place and change this seed to static, right? So you can change most of these names that are here. You can change them to what will make your organization, you know, models now. You can change it to like maybe our SQL files, whatever. You can change it to anything. Again, DBT gives you that flexibility. So now, but now that I've changed these things to static, if I want to run it, do I do DBT static? DBT static? No, I'm still going to do DBT seed, because this thing is saying seed part. It's just the folder that me have renamed. So when you rename a folder, it does not change the command in DBT, because if it does, I mean, different people will just be writing different things. So this thing here, all of these things, list the most important folder that DBT needs to be able to do its work. Now, when you run DBT clean, it's going to delete these two folders. So if you want that, anytime you do DBT clean, you should always remove anything you have in your seed. You can add the static that we have changed now, you can add it here. If you want it to delete your analysis folder, anytime you do DBT clean, you add it here. You can see directories to be removed by DBT clean. Now, at this point here is where you are configuring your model, where you are setting your materializations, how DBT will build your models inside of your warehouse. Is it going to build it as a table? Is it going to build it as a view? Is it going to build it as ephemera? Whatever, right? How it is going to build it is what we are looking at here. Now, like I said, you can set it up in this place, or you can go to that particular model itself and set it as a config. So the first thing that we have here is the double curly brackets, right? And I'm going to have my config to be materialized as, so if I set this thing to materialize as a table, this thing will override whatever it is that I've set up in my models.yaml file, right? I say models.yaml file in my DBT projects .yaml file. In this DBT project.yaml file, I said this guy should be built as a view. But now, inside of the model, I'm saying this should be built as a table. This will override whatever it is that is set inside of this, right? You will see some mixture, right? Some will set some specific model in this place to actually have this configuration. Why there are some models that they will not set to have it. It depends. So they can let it fall to the default configuration that they've set here, or they can give it a custom configuration in this place. Now, for your profile.yaml file, for those that are using DBT core, what is in your profiles.yaml file is your credentials that you are going to use to connect to your database. And that is why that file is not always in your main DBT project. DBT is always storing it in your user file path. That's why you don't see it in your, if we go back to this thing, I think there is a place where we added where that file is supposed to be. I think there is a place, the box, okay, no, it's not here. It's in, wait, it's not here. Okay, this is my repo. Let me go to my repo. There is a repo I'm setting up for Quora build presentation. So this is where you would see that file. So it's not going to put it in your normal file paths. Windows. Yes, see, if you're using MacBook, this is where you are going to see your profiles.yaml file. So because it contains your security credential, it is not going to be in your default environment. But in DBT Cloud, we don't need it because we have set up a configuration at the back while you are setting up your DBT project. So that's why it's not showing here. But if you are using DBT Core and you're on MacBook, you can find that file in this directory. But if you are using Windows, you will find it here. You can see it has a .dbt. Anything that has .dbt, we know that is always for security measure because it's not going to show this thing. Yes, I think there is something. I don't see my own DBT account. Like you don't take it was when DBT just came out. So a lot of things that new account are not getting. My own account still has it like tipe share you get. So you might like want to check online and see how you can get autocomplete or IntelliSense for your DBT project. So now that we have this, right? Thank you, people, for asking tough questions. So that means that the next person that is coming now is Irish Shege. I love it. So now let's go. So we want to, like I said, your DBT love it, right? When you are using CTs, right? But still, I can use my normal select, right? So now I can do my normal select. Now I don't want, okay, since this is my direct thing, select star, right? But because I am referencing this source schema, this source schema here, right? This is what I want to call this customer table. And I'm going to use what is called the source function in DBT, right? The source function. So I'm going to have source, SORC. Oh, sorry, I need to start with curly brackets and then source. And this is going to first take the name that I've put there, whole list, right? And then now the table name, which in my case is customers, like this, right? And I'm going to say, now, with DBT Cloud, I can do preview so that I can see if the schema error is invalid because sources does not have a name attribute. Sorry, so is this sources that is supposed to be? So it's saying that does not have a name attribute. That's coming from this guy. Name. What is happening in that place? Yeah, sources name should be there. Then database, my schema, and then tables. So what is now happening? Let me remove this description first. Okay, then in my model, I should have sources, or list, and customers. So let's review again. Is invalid because a list of elements for sources. Oh, yes. List of elements for sources. Okay. So let's go back and just make this guy to be source. Since I'm not using two things. I don't know, man. Activity is crazy with some of these. So let's yeah, you see. So because I don't have like another name again, right? Because I don't have another name that is referencing like another database. That's why it's flagging that sources is not supposed to go there. It should be source, right? So something is wrong, blah, blah, blah. Sources is not defined. This can be happening. Here we do not have, okay, let me do dbt depth. Dbt depth, so let's run that command and see. The network to might actually be another thing. So because I did dbt run yesterday, so I don't know why. Okay, dbt depth is successful. So can we preview this again? Okay, it's loading. Okay, yeah, I think what's wrong? dbt action, select cage. So this your sources is undefined. But I'm not using sources again.
You know the sources from your
From the select star. I think you select from select star.
Oh, thank you. I think that's where okay, I mean this network is also okay. Sources. Can you just work once and for all? Okay. So model the YDB bootcamp stuff stage comma depend on a customer whole list. Okay. So let me change this name to this thing. Let's change this name to this, and let me just come and use you. We are staging, and then let's run you again. Please just preview this one time. Okay, we are staging dot customer. Depending on the source, we are staging dot customer. Okay, let me remove the database flag. This is the database actually. So why are you flagging me? Which was no fun. So there should be at this point. This database schema. So let's go back to all lists. Don't mind me. It's been a while I used cloud. We're always using missing names. What's the problem? Missing property name. I'm not supposed to be having this problem because in my previous listing, I've tested this thing and it's working. I tested this thing yesterday. This is what happened now. When you are finished working and you are presenting to clients and the thing is showing red, 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 and they'll be like, sir, did you test this thing before you come and show it to us? Okay, sources doesn't have a name attribute. So now it can be one single small thing like this one. Honestly, data work is God.
So, UI,
Yeah.
I think you may need to include a version 2 on the source file. I think so at the top. So what you can just do to reconfirm, you can use
So, but I will now have to change this one to sources then.
Sources, yeah. That should be sources.
Let's try that again.
Still the same error.
Doesn't have a name called sources.
Okay, no stress. Use an activity code gen and generate the source code, the source for the YAML file.
Yeah, great sources here also. Let's care.
And this thing doesn't even have co-pilots like this.
Okay, wait, go back to your stage file.
Oh no, this.
So that your source should be oldest. Yeah, that's the errors from. Yeah, that should be oldest.
Okay, let's see. I was using Olis before now, and the thing was saying I'm depending on a model called Olis that does not have. Maybe the cloud can be drawn from that. So let's see now. Sources the YAML file is invalid.
I think the select star statement still has source and not sources.
So that should be source, not sources.
That should be source actually.
AY, please pick up code gen. Just go to code gen and use the package and generate the source file. In your packages folder. You didn't even need that. Just on your browser. On your browser, Google DBT code gen.
He's even there now. Maybe he's part of
Is it there?
Yes.
And then just you know the syntax offhand. I don't know the syntax offhand. So just copy the syntax on for generating sources and then compile it to generate the source file for us.
Wait.
Code gen generates source file. It will generate YAML for us.
Okay.
But all this it may just be one space or something that is missing. And then so I think let's go to your browser and copy the full syntax. It's not much faster. You're still showing the
Where?
You're still showing. Go to your browser.
I'm in my browser. Like open another page.
Yes, another browser. Yes.
Okay.
And so let's do code gen. Yes. I use net salads. Let's go first. Scroll down.
Okay, generate source.
Yes. Scroll down. Go to the package itself. I don't like using this one. The main package itself. This one is the AI, this thing. Let's put on the main package.
Wait.
Go to the main package, to the main package link itself.
This one.
Down. Yes. Down. So generate source. The first one. First. Yeah. I think you have to scroll down again. So these are packages we use. I think you just see everybody press. I think it's at the top. You pass it.
Leave it to generate source.
Okay. No, let's take this one.
This is it. Let's see. Maybe it's wrong. Okay, so schema name is DBT.
You have to put that $sign at the top.
Yeah.
Sorry, baby. Sorry.
So see now.
Are you there? Okay. Let's use the other one that we just compiled.
His name does not have sources.
Anyway, let's just go back to that browser. The one with code gen. No. The one with code gen. up.
This one.
Yeah. Yes, let's copy that one. Then let's open
Generate
DBT.
source.
Let's go to DBT. Let's open a new tab, a new query tab. And just use the plus at the top right. Top right.
I don't want to put it inside of this person.
So we don't need to name it, just something random. We'll just compile it in there. Yeah.
Wait. Okay.
That's probably going to create a folder.
I'm putting it inside of the place.
Okay, let's put the schema name and database name. Is that where the source data is? In DBT dev?
Yes.
Okay, let's compile.
How do you mean? I do it today.
Let's compile.
Oh,
Delete
you
your
must
source file.
cost.
Delete your source file. So let's compile this.
Okay, yeah. Compile you. DBT run operation failed.
That was the last command. All these customers. So you can just remove the content of your customers since it's referencing a source that does not exist. Yeah. So let's compile again on the other one.
Ogajo.
Yeah, I can see that you have multiple folders, so you might want to check all your other models. The error might not be coming from the one you are currently editing.
There is even nothing in this silver. This is just the only thing that we have here now.
So let's compile that stuff again. Let's generate it for us. Stage
This file
custom.
cannot be passed.
See, just clean everything inside this. Clean everything inside here, inside that stage customers. Just erase, not even comment. Just erase in that stage customers. Yeah. Save. So let's compile that query again. So we can place that in our sources file and then use it. So we can create
So how is this not different from?
Yeah, I think I know what's wrong at the multiple dash that we have for our database and tables, I think is only a single dash for name.
Oh, shy. This is where the problem. See, this person has attention to detail on like 125%. That's where the problem
Just
is.
the one you wrote
The
initially.
dash we put in, yes, the dash we put in database, table, description. That was the problem. Thank you, Jared. So let's go and create. Imagine how it's making somebody look like somebody don't know what we are doing. Sources the YAML file. So you are. So let's go back and we have name is O list. Imagine not even put schema safe. I'm still going to have my description whether you like it or not. Okay, so Mr. T, thank you for working, but you can go now. So let's comment this. Okay, and then let's preview. Please preview us our data. Yay! So now it's working, right? And by default, it automatically limits it to 500 rows, right? So which means that at this point, right, you have successfully connected to your first source. Now, what's the next thing is that we need to document this thing. So this guy has like 5 columns. I'm going to try to see if I can copy these column names. Yeah, I can copy it, right? So let's go to our sources, our staging.yaml file, right? Which is the description for the model now, right? And for us to do that, we have already given it, oh, this is the name that this thing will be called, stage customers.yaml file. So we want to have the version again, right? Version 2, and here now we want to call models, not sources this time around, just model. And this name will be this name here, right? It has to be this name, right? It has to be this name, right? The source in the select statement, is it a keyword? Yes, it's a keyword in DBT. And that keyword means that DBT is going to come inside of this sources.yaml file and look for that name that we put, this O list, and check under it if there is this, if there is any table here like this, right? So it will come here, check, oh, I can see this name, O list. That way, it identifies the database and the schema. And then it now checks inside of this schema if there is a table called customers there. So if you have a wrong name here, it's still going to flag you that, hey, the name that you are calling is wrong, right? So this boils down back to this guy.
On the data set and average more.
Yes, Mr. David. So this can be custom name, or database name, right? So it can be anything, basically, right? So now let's go back. So we have the model. So the model must be this name that we have here, which is going to be stg_customers, right? Again, there are different approaches to how you can do this description part. You can have a single model or a single file like this, and each one of them, you now be describing each of your model inside of it. Again, that can work if you don't want to be managing multiple files, right? If you don't want to be managing multiple files, but on the long run, again, it's going to be hard to start tracking because one file now can have like 20 different models in it, and each model can have like maybe 10, 15 columns, and that, sort of becomes a problem for you to start tracking. So we are going to have this, which is the name of the model, right? Then we'll have our description. So description, and this description is what this model is about. So this is the raw customers table. Now the columns, right? I need to list the columns. So remember I said you can start setting up data quality elements to your model. This is where you start. Now, for one of our clients, you don't do, what is it called? You don't do any testing at this phase. So you just list the columns and the description alone. That's it. You don't do any testing here because they believe that these raw data now, yes, some of them might actually have like a missing stuff. But at their silver layer, now they expect you to start setting data tests and start saying, oh, at this point where we are doing data filtering out and all of that, this model cannot have, or this column cannot have missing value, or this column, the value must be unique and all of those things. You can start setting it from that place. Because if you set it from here to then, you're already pushing out data that they could have potentially used. But because you have set it here, they cannot see it. So our first column, and column arrangement here does not really matter as long as you're able to capture all of the columns. So it does not matter if I start with custom ID. I can start with this one or start with this one. Anyone really matters. What is important is all of your columns are here and they are documented, right? Because on the long run, if this documentation is not set up, it's going to become a problem for whoever is taking over this project to have, especially for the business side, to have an idea about what this particular column is all about. So this is a very simple one, right? Customer, and this thing is very stressful. So let me not lie to you. Documentation is stressful and it's not rewarding. Nobody will give you salary increment because you are doing documentation, but you need to do it so that you're able to do knowledge transfer. So if you leave the company tomorrow now, they will not be calling you by 2 a.m. to say, the new analyst that we just hire does not know what this particular column, what it means, right? And then you now be saying, you know what, let's jump on a call by 2 a.m. or by 10 this morning. I will explain it to you. So this basically just take all of your columns, the descriptions, and what they are supposed to have. So this is unique identifier for our customers. It can be anything. So here I can decide that, at this point, I want to start doing data tests, right? And this means that this has to be unique, and also it cannot be empty, right? So if there is any customer that has different customers, but they have same ID, this is going to fail. And once it fails, it's not going to allow us to build this model successfully, right? It's going to fail until you fix that problem. So it's either you filter out that thing from your table, or you go and find a way to fix it, right? Or you can remove this. We happen to actually did this for a recent project. I just submitted the ticket yesterday, because the problem is that coupon codes are applied to every order that you are purchasing, right? So which means that one coupon code can be applied to 2 products. In that case, the system will not allow you to pass because it is the same coupon code, but they were actually applied to different products. So what we had to do was knock off unique from that column, because it is no longer unique. Because coming from the business side, that column is not supposed to be unique. Since they allow that, you can use one coupon code on multiple products. So it's just like DevFest now. Somebody can pick 5 days together and then apply one coupon code to it upon checking out. So if that thing is going to be registered in the database, there are different days. So the information will be entered differently, but it's the one coupon code that is applied to everything. So that means for that 5 days, that 5 row will have same coupon code. So in the instance of having this column to be unique, those informations will not come in, because, one of them will come in, the remaining 4 will not come in, because the remaining to the system are duplicates, and you need to find a way to fix it. And this is why talking to the stakeholders and gathering requirements is actually the first step before you jump in and start command setting up your DBT and all of that, right? So we're just going to just leave this at this point, right? And then let's see now if we do, so remember that we built this as a table, right? We've built it as a table. So let's create another model, and then we'll call that staging orders, right? .sql. So I remember I said, when you are doing your DBT stuff, always try as much as possible to work with CTE. This one here, I did not use any CTE and it still works, right? But if I want to filter out something from here now, it means that like I don't need this unique ID column now, right? Yes, Olajide.
So my question is that is it just customer table we have in our warehouse? What if we have maybe different tables? Are we also going to create a .yaml for each of them?
Yes. So for each, that's why I was saying that earlier. So now we have staging customer now, right? I can go ahead and create a new staging orders.yaml for it as well. So it means that in that staging order.yaml file, let's do that, stg_orders, right, .yml. So what this would mean is that inside of this staging orders.yaml file, I'm going to have version, right? I'm going to have models, and the name for this will be stg_orders, and the description will be orders, okay, sales record from all lists, right? Anything you want to put there, right? Then I'm going to have my columns, and then whatever columns I have in the, okay, we have order ID, right? I remember we have order ID, and then description for order ID is unique order identifier, right? Yes, Mr. David, unique order identifier.
So I also wanted to add for those YAML files for the models, one of the recommendations is to also start the model names for the model YAML files with an underscore. So that way, DBT will put them at the top. So it's easier for you to find all the YAML documentation files for all the models as opposed to having them one by one. So you can easily find
One
it.
by one.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can just
Yeah.
start it with an underscore.
Yeah. Yes, that's another approach. So if you don't have a folder, you can see now, it just gave us a different approach. Now, if you don't have your schemas inside like a schema folder, if they are outside here like this, like the way this one is outside there, is outside of schemas now. Let me close this. It's outside of schemas now. So what I will do is take this and add underscore to the name here. So it will go to the top. Right? So you can see now that it's at the first position. So this way, I can see all of my .yaml file before the SQL. So different approaches, different companies, different anything, right? And that you change this name does not mean that you need to come inside of this place and change this again. No. But now I have my order ID. I've said that is unique order identifier and that is unique. Then I know that we also have customer ID underscore ID, right? And this is unique identifier for customers, right? So you can have them separate like this, or you can have one big file that you now take all of, whether you have 20 models here now, you take all the 20 and then you are dumping it inside of that 20, right? But again, that can work when you are starting out, but as your project is growing, it will start becoming hard to, what is it called now? To manage, right? So let's work on orders, and then we are going to stop the class here for today. So you go, as your assignment for today, you go and create the other ones, right? 224. Is it not 2 o'clock that we are supposed to stop the class? It's 2 o'clock now. So, so you take the remaining models, right? Then you go and create it on, you go and create it on your end, right? I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the class. So now, let's do for the last one. Now, I'm not going to do my configuration here, right? Because I already have my configuration set up in dbt project.yaml file here, that I should build everything under bronze as a view, but so that we can see how one thing can override another thing. That's why I've set this to be a table. Now I'm going to leave this one. I'm not going to set anything here. What I'm just going to do with this is I'm going to use a city instead. So with, I'm going to call this source data, right? We source data as, so I'll now do select star, not 8, select star from, then source, and now I'm going to have my whole list again, but this time around I'm going to have orders, right? Now remember I said different organizations, different approach, right? So let's go to our database. So this is the customers table, right? Now I don't want all of these names, they are too long, right? I have my customer order ID, order status, but you see all of these customer thing, their names are too long, so I want to rename them. So I'm going to do that in my in that layer. That's like the condition that I've set. You can only rename things in your bronze layer. Don't do more than that. For my own company, at least that's what I'm saying, right? So now we have the order ID, customer ID, order status. So I'm going to just select all of that. So we can now select order ID, right? Underscore under ID, customer underscore ID, right? I have order underscore status, right? Now, the next one is order purchase timestamp. I'm just going to change this to order date time, right? So order purchase timestamp, I will have that as order date as well, right? Then order approved at, man, these names are too long. I can't be typing. So yeah, this should show you. Let me copy it from order approved at is going to be order approved at as approved at. I know that is order because I'm inside of the order table, right? So order carrier, delivered carrier date, order delivered. Okay, this was when it goes to the carrier. This was when it got to the customer. This was like the estimated. So this as carrier underscore dates, right? These are as customer okay, say customer deliver. Ah, man, is that to name this column? I can't call it as customer date.
Customer delivery date.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I think that works. Customer. I'm looking for something that will not make it too long, but I guess it's just going to be that. So this will be carrier delivery date. Yeah, so that thing
Or
sort of
cost
makes
as in CUST.
so that's the thing. The column needs to be like something that makes sense from just reading it alone. And then this is estimated date, right? So this is as delivery. No, okay. So let's have this as estimated delivery date, right? So if I want to do anything, I'm not doing anything here. When I get to the other layers, I can go and be doing all of that. So I'm selecting from now source data, right? So here I'm still picking the whole raw stuff, but at this point now I'm doing like the basic transformation the company has outlined that I can do, which is just rename columns, right? So if I preview basically again, right? If this is correct, I should also see an output. But if it is not, then I need to start troubleshooting and start looking for where is the problem coming from and how can I fix it, And we can see that now it has changed those things. It's not showing it as what I had in the source. It's not showing it as what I'm going to be having in maybe my production or my staging now, right? Yes, Benga, please go ahead so that we can wrap this up.
Yeah, just quickly about the name. Source data,
Yes.
that name of the city is quite confusing. No? Since it's talking about others, can't we just call it others or something?
Which one is
the city? If it's scroll up.
This one?
Yes.
Yeah, we can call it anything actually. I can call it other data.
Okay.
Yes, I can call it other data. It doesn't matter, right? So the thing is, just do what works for you. So I can call it other data. I can call it anything. Anything flies, right? Just put in the best practice and, what will it be if I should leave this company and somebody else picks this up? Will they be able to continue without too much reliant on me? So now that we have this, basically, all of these things that we've been building since and previewing, we are only seeing it in this environment. So we want to see it in our warehouse now. For us to do that, let me just quickly do this Olajide. So for us to do that, right, we need to do dbt run, right? So when you do dbt compile, what it does is that it helps you to just now see this is what dbt would do when we saying that dbt should run this query. This is what it will do for us, right? This is the code that is going to run. See, this is the code. You can see that it has changed that source o list orders. It has changed it to your database name, the schema, the table, right? So this code here now is what dbt will run against Snowflake. So if there is a problem, dbt always, especially when you're using dbt cloud, it always has a compiled code that you can copy that is already converted to your warehouse syntax that you can copy and then go and try to run it in your warehouse to see where the problem is so that you can fix it that way. That's what dbt compile does. It will not run your code against anything. It will just help you to convert it to the code that it will run against your warehouse. Now that we have this and we can see that it's working fine, I can now do dbt run, which will now create two models that I have. I have one that I've already set as a table, and I have one that is going to take the default materialization that we have set in the dbt project.yaml. And you can see both passed and there is no error. If we look at staging orders, see now, it said it created this thing as a view, right? But if you look at staging customer, see it created customer as a table. And why? Because inside of table, right? Inside of customers, we set it to be materialized as a table. But this, we did not set it to be anything. So it takes the default configuration that we have set for it. But for us to confirm, let's come back to our schema and then refresh this. And we can see the schema name, like I said, dbt will automatically take your username and turn it to a schema for you. So we can see staging customer, and we have 99,000, and for whatever rows there. And this is the size now, 6.4 megabytes. So right now, I can leave this thing as a table and then let it keep going. But immediately your data starts growing into gigs, right? You want to now start changing your approach that, okay, maybe it's now time for me to use incremental, right? Or if you're using Snowflake or whatever data warehouse it is, you can set up clustering, and all of those things. But if we look at staging orders, right, this is just showing number of columns and then that it is a view. It's not showing the storage size because views are not tables. As it is, this view here is SQL code that is stored inside of it. It is until when we run this or call it anywhere, that's when the code inside of this thing is now going to run. You can see it has this greater than symbol indicating that it's just your view are normal codes that you just saved in your warehouse, right? So yes, I think Benga, you can ask your question. Is it Benga or Lajide? I think it's Lajide. Yeah.
Yeah, it was me. So there's this part that I actually don't quite get yet. So if we have like maybe 3 layers, 4 layers, maybe more than gold, silver, and bronze and everything. So, and we have set our destination warehouse. So, is it that it's until the data lands into maybe the final, the final folder, maybe the gold, that it's going to write into our data warehouse? Or you can also find a way to write into your warehouse in between without it even getting to your gold schema
Layer.
or your gold for layer here in DBT.
Yeah, so the layer in your model, right, does not determine where your model is going to be created in your schema, right, or in your data warehouse. What matter is what is set in your, if you are using DBT core, you have like targets in your profile.yaml file. So in that target, if what you set is to direct production DB, that is where you will be sending it to. If what you set there is a dev environment, that's what every single thing, whether it is in bronze layer or it is in gold or it is in, whatever folder it is that you have after gold, everything is going to be building into that database that you have set in your profile.yaml file. So it does not matter whether it is a particular layer. That
Okay,
destination that you have is where it's going to be. Yeah, go ahead.
okay, doesn't mean that I would be, physically seeing this bronze, silver inside my data warehouse?
No, you will not see them. So this silver, bronze, whatnot is a structure for you. In your warehouse, what you see in your warehouse is the names. Now we can see this is STG_customer. Now, one of our clients has something like, they have this is instead of staging. So this is bronze, right? They have it as bronze customer like this, right? They have it as bronze customer. So in their warehouse, you will see bronze customer, silver customer, gold customer. You will not see staging customer, and then anything like that. So this approach too works. Again, your naming convention is something that, one, is either your company already has an approach, or two, you are just setting up that approach for them. But anyone that you opt in, let it be. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect at the beginning, but as you go on, you start improving on it. Oh, this approach that we are using, oh, is not suitable again. Oh, let's change it. Oh, this approach is better that we do it in department structure. So one department, everything about that department is in one folder. Or since right now, what we are doing is everybody is using one thing. Let's just have a single model that has folder that depicts bronze, silver, and layer, and then that's just all of those. So anyhow, that's the flow. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so let's say now I have it as folders by department. Maybe I have marketing, I have finance, I have branding and all of that. So if I have maybe under finance, for example, I have gold, silver, and staging on my DBT. So if I get it clearly now, it's not gonna show as bronze, silver, and gold in my data warehouse. It will only just show like the schema and then that folder which is finance, and then it will show the tables inside. Is that what you're saying, sir?
Yes. So the name that you use to that you name those models is what you are going to see in your schema, not how they are arranged in your DPT project.
Okay, but would they have like separate schemas? Let's say like under finance now, like how would I be able to, or everything will be in one place, both staging and gold tables, everything will be just under that particular schema.
Yes, everything will be under one schema. So whether gold, bronze, or whatnot, right? So that's where your naming convention now comes in. Imagine I have what I have in bronze, this customer I have in bronze, I have it as just customers. Then what I have in silver, I have it just as customers as well. It becomes a problem in your warehouse because you start wondering which customer is which customer. So that's why this naming convention will help you to identify what are the things that are being built when you are looking at it in your warehouse, right? It's not even necessary for your model arrangement here. It is when you are checking it out in your warehouse that you get to say, oh, this is the staging customer table. Oh, this is the bronze customer table. Oh, this is silver customer table, right? So you can differentiate what each of those things are. And
Okay.
you cannot have two models built with the same name. It's not going to work. So that one is just there. So it's not even going to work.
Okay, so the conclusion now is that in my warehouse, I have two schemas, the staging or the raw schema, and then the destination schema. The staging schema has all of my data and everything from scratch. And then the destination has both the the refined models and the intermediate ones and then the raw ones.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, anybody aside Olajide that does not have hard question, please ask. Because at this point, this is like, this, okay, so yeah, I think we are done, right? So your assignment is create the remaining models. So, and then create their schemas. So just do the descriptions. Yes, Emmanuel, I say Emmanuel, Ebenezer, please go ahead and ask your question. We should be wrapping up now. So we can extend to 3 and then wrap the ultimate by 3. So please go ahead, Ebenezer. Yeah.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Ayade. So, my question is not complex. I just wanted to ask, like, everything you've done here on DBT Cloud, will you be pushing it to GitHub?
So, since it's hands-on actually, right? Yes, I will push it to
Yeah.
GitHub, but you will not see it, right? So you need to like set up your own. So if you have a problem, that's why you are in that WhatsApp group. Drop your questions. There are a ton of experts there that will respond to you. The reason why we are not going to like, let you see this is you are not just cloning the things that we do in class. You can also practice it yourself. So if there is a problem, because the best thing is actually doing it by practicing. So if you don't practice it and you're just cloning this, yeah, you will not get it. And from all of the approaches that we have talked about, you can pick any. You don't have to follow this one that I have here, right? Tomorrow's tutor can come now and change this whole structure. It doesn't matter, right? Just get your old system working. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, for that. So this is like one other question I wanted to ask. So I was not able to join during the earlier hours of the meeting because I was on another call at the moment at that time. So I wanted to ask, like, when it comes to DBT, either core or either cloud, right? If you are working for a consulting firm, how does it really work when you are using, I mean, when you are the one managing the DBT, I mean, you are managing DBT side on that company that is a consulting firm, because now you are interfacing with different clients. More like when you are using DBT for their project, you're also using DBT for another project. And from my experience with DBT, I think you can only set one target, right? You can only read and write from one particular target. Does it mean that when you are done with a particular company, when you are working with another company, you change it to their database? Do you understand the question?
Yes, I understand your question. So now,
Yeah.
so for each project, you have a different DBT project for them. You can't use one DBT project to manage 2 different clients, right? So now, if you're using DBT Cloud, if it's the paid version, you can actually set up as many projects as you want. So you can be dealing with different clients per project. Now, our own approach is we are in one company. Now, that company has different departments, and each of these departments has a data model that we are building for them. That is why I think it's Olajide's approach of saying, oh, this is marketing. So you open marketing and see everything about marketing. It works. But if it is 2 different clients now, they have 2 different servers, they have 2 different databases, that approach cannot work. You will set one project up for each client. I think I mentioned something around that earlier, that I'm working on like something that if you can actually read from one database, from one warehouse and write to another warehouse, but by default, it's not working with DBT, but I'm playing around it. Let's see if it will work or not. Yes, so I hope that answers your questions.
Yes. Just to like clarify, so that means you only have for you to work with different clients, you have to get the paid version of DBT
Yes.
cloud. Okay.
Yes, or
Alright.
you set up different DBT core projects for each one.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Okay. Yes, Musli.
Thank you. Mine is not a question, but I just noticed there's 2 attendants. I was going through the chat now, and that was when I noticed it was dropped. I sort of made this one, and I've been here since the first.
The first assignment.
No. Attendance.
Okay, you missed the first. So, okay, so what's happening is there's like 2 attendants, one before the class and one after. No, one at the beginning of the class and one after the class. So if you sign the first one, it shows that you're in class, right? But if you miss the second one, it just means that probably network drop you off and you're not able to come to the end of class. But if you sign the 2, I mean, that's fantastic. So you can, yeah, go ahead.
I signed up on the second one now. I didn't even know it was dropped until I was going through the chat now.
Yeah, that's fine. And so if you sign for the last class, the end, it means that you were in the class till the end of it. So that's fine as well. Anyone actually, right? As long as, so we just want to ensure that you are there at the beginning of the class and then you're also there at the end of the class. Yes, Chidima.
Okay, thank you, Ayo. Mine is not really a question. You talked about the assignment, but my network was having issues and I really didn't get it very well. I don't know if you can recap it again so I can pen it down. Thank you.
Okay, so the
Hello,
assignment.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you read my response back? Yes.
Hello?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yes,
the
I can
assignment.
hear you. My network is not really.
All right, no problem. I guess it's lagging. So the assignment is that in class now, we have created 2 models, right? Out of, if I look at the number of files that you have here that you are seeding into DBT. Oh, did I delete DBT? Okay, I named it static. Yeah, this is it. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait. 2, 4, 6, 8, right? So this is like 8. I don't know if you need this last one, but you can load it. So this is 8. Now, out of 8, we've created 2 models, which is customer and orders. So your assignment is to create the model for the remaining ones: order items, order payments, order reviews, product sellers, and then this last one. But I do not have this last one in my own sources.yaml file. So create the remaining 6. So which means that when you open your schema.yaml file, you are going to see 7, that will be 9 files because you have your sources.yaml file there, and then you are going to have 8 schema for each of your models, and each of your models will now be 8 instead of 6. So that's the assignment, basically, right? And it's something you can do in like 10-15 minutes after this class like this, right? So yep, if there is no question again, thank you all for attending this session. As much as I would have loved to stay and keep talking, though I really enjoyed this session actually.
Sorry,
Yes, yeah, go ahead, Anika. I hope I'm calling your name. Oh, Loretta is fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm thinking the class is very advanced for me. So I already dropped a question, but I don't think you saw it.
Okay. What was the question? Please, if you can recap.
Is there any recommendation that I can, like, I did not catch up, but I was just there because the whole class was interactive and I liked what is going on, but I was not following through.
Okay. So first, DBT basically depends on your level of SQL, right? And outside of that, the only thing is just what you are writing. I think at the beginning, somebody was saying do we need to like be a master in CTE before you can work with DBT? And like I said, no, right? That was why the staging customer, I intentionally created it without doing CTE, right? So you can still use your normal thing, but it's just fine. I mean, look at how beautiful this thing is with CTE. So this is like my every column, and then I'm picking the only things that I want. So if you are good with SQL, DBT is just an added bonus. It's just like you want to use pandas to clean data and you don't know Python, right? So you need to be good with SQL for you to be able to use DBT. Now, recommendations that I will give you is that there is like a foundational course on the official DBT website. So if you check DBT course, so learn with DBT Learn, right? This course catalog, you can actually take like their free introduction to DBT course. Oh, okay, thank God I'm not signed. So all courses, let's go to all courses, right? So, okay, these are even the courses. So you can see DBT fundamentals, right? Introduction to SQL. So let's new to DBT, right? So see, these are simple things. These are the things that would help you on DBT fundamental. And all of this is actually using DBT Cloud, right? So materialization, what does it mean by materialization? Just like I explained now. And then, some other like advanced stuffs, basically. So once you are good with SQL, DBT is just like an added bonus for that. So if you are not getting it now, it's just a basic, just brush up your SQL skill and you'll be able to like pick it up in no time. Right. Yeah. I hope that answers all of our questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So Ebenezer, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I wanted to like ask the assignment regarding the assignment completion, sorry, the assignment, right, submission. So I saw like you used Snowflake as your warehouse and
Yes.
the field trial. So I've exhausted my field trial. So I wanted to ask that, do I have to create another one, or I can use BigQuery as my own warehouse for the submission?
Actually, you can use, yes, you can use anything actually. So even if you are using DBT core too, you can use Postgres on your local system too. So, but I don't know of BigQuery in terms of signing up and stuff, but for Snowflake, just find a new email and use new email to sign up and boom, you are good to go, right? So
Yeah.
this old training is not warehouse specific. You can use any warehouse of your choice. Okay, Toby, yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things when we were working on the bronze silver stuff, I noticed that for your bronze bronze model, you were using I think, a view or a table. I was just wondering, I thought silver is supposed to be for a transformation layer. Are we also like maybe saving the source on the bronze layer before we move to the silver and the gold layer? Just trying to understand that part.
Okay, so like I said, every organization, right, has like different different structures basically, right? So now, for me, like I say, my own bronze layer, what I just want to do there is just rename a column, right? Just rename a column. That's what I want to do in my bronze layer, right? Tomorrow, the tutor that is taking over can say, hey, in this our silver layer, we are going to do case statements, do joining and do anything. The only thing we are not going to do in silver layer is aggregate. That okay, when we get to gold layer, we'll aggregate there. So different company, different approaches. For some company, you cannot even do anything in your bronze. Just bring the data in as it is, right? Because that is what they feel like is working for them. I also made a reference to another organization that says, when you are setting up your documentation for any bronze model, you must not add data tests, because they believe that at that point, their data is not ready to be passed through any data quality checks. You can start your data test at the silver layer. So everybody have what works for them. But if, again, you are just setting this up for your organization, that whole decision thing falls mostly on you, and then discussion around the people that are going to be using it. An example again that I made reference to was coupon codes. We have a coupon code column in one of our table that was set to unique, which means that whichever coupon code you are applying on a normal day should not be applied to more than just one product. But that's not how coupon code works, at least when they are doing Black Fridays and stuff, right? Because for us, our company sends out coupon codes to our customers, not like go to the website and do 15% discount, no. So now, some customers can buy 2-3 items, merge it together, and then boom, apply a coupon code to it. Now, when they apply coupon code to it, it means that that coupon code will appear 3 times because it's 3 different products. Now, 2 of those products will not be able to come into our model because we have set the coupon code column to be unique. And that is giving the marketing team headache because they need to see how many products each coupon code is applied to. So we have to go back and say, okay, the test that is set to this column, we have to knock one thing off. Is either we knock the unique off or knock the whole thing. There are even columns that does not have coupon code at all. Now, this same coupon code column, we set it that it should not be not null. So for any order now that their coupon code that does not have coupon code applied to them, the table is not allowing us to see it in the downstream layer because it's failing. It's failing the not null constraints. For coupon codes that apply to more than one product, it's also failing because it's failing the unique constraints. So now the only orders that we're passing through are those orders that has coupon code and the coupon code is only applied to one product. So we need to have a sit down with the marketing team, the product team, the engineering team. What can we do? At the end of the day, we have to knock off those 2 data tests because it is violating what the marketing team is setting up. So anything that you are setting up, right, needs to be, oh, how will this thing affect my users? Will they be able to get what they want to get, or they will not be able to get what they want, right? And with that, and my humble self, and the entire YDP team, we say thank you for coming to day 1. See you guys tomorrow. Ciao.
Thank you.
You're welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the
Thank
session.
you.
It was a great one. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm glad. And I really enjoyed myself. So don't worry, tomorrow's class will be fun. I will join tomorrow's class.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I meet you in your DM?
Yes, please. Check for me. Please let me stop this recording.
Maybe something